Hi, I'm Casual Chris, and as you can see, I'm sitting on an exercise ball, which means that I'm officially a real YouTuber.
Stretch.
Let's get a good stretch.
Those shoulders.
Stretch
Let's
those
stretch
shoulders.
our legs.
Did you guys also have a friend group growing up that consisted entirely of the other kids who lived on your street? I did, and I spent every day hanging out with those guys. We did everything together. We rode bikes, went to the park, played sports, video games. This was the same era as LimeWire and MSN, so gaming usually implied bringing your controller over to your friend's house and playing Call of Duty split screen and just blatantly screen watching the homies like nobody's business. Fuck all of you guys, by the way. I know you were cheating and I'm not over it. I see you, Omar. I fucking see you watching my screen, bro. I see you. Online gaming wasn't quite there yet, and unless you were playing RuneScape, the concept of an MMO was probably foreign to you. Within my core friend group, my next door neighbor was definitely my best friend at the time. For the purpose of this video, we're gonna call him Austin. Yeah. Me and Austin played all the same games, liked all the same music, and both had your typical childhood obsession with cartoons. The family channel was our shit. Emperor's New School, Lilo and Stitch, Kim Possible, Ned's Declassified, Hannah Montana, Life with Derek, That's So Raven, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, Wizards of Waverly Place. Buddy, the chokehold that Disney's Recess had on me and Austin growing up, it was every morning. Needless to say, me and the homie had similar tastes, so it wasn't a hard sell when one morning Austin calls me up on the home phone, yeah, babe, talking about how I had to come over to play this new computer game that somebody at school had shown him. So I run over there, full sprint, and I find him in his room on the computer playing some goofy looking pixel art bootleg The Sims ripoff. Honestly, even for 2007, the graphics were shit. But something about the bright, colorful art direction and the deliberate aesthetic appeal of the pixel art style was like kid crack. So I grabbed my spare laptop from home and began the arduous task of creating my first character. And right off the bat, let me tell you, there were some options for character creation. There was scene kid hair, paper bag with holes, blatant reference to violent horror franchise, some of the toughest drip of the Y2K era, this, whatever this is. We used to call these people bacon hair. Shit was tasty. Eventually, I ended up with something that half resembled a person, and we were almost ready to go. Now, you might be asking yourself, what is it that one actually does in Habbo Hotel? Are you on vacation? Are you a tenant, an employee, a cleaner perhaps? And the answer is, yeah, if you wanted, you could probably do all of those things. The game was pretty open concept. You want to be a maid? Do it. You want to wear a floral shirt and hit the beach? Do it. Want to join the military and stand around being vaguely threatening? Do it. Want to join a gang? Which one? Become a contestant in a made-up reality show? Line up at Starbucks? Get a girlfriend? Get married? Pretend family? Divorced? Snowball fight? Political activism? Want to transfer your newly established Habbo friendships over to other social media platforms and maybe take it offline? Don't do that. Yeah, the developers were pretty adamant on preventing players from exchanging phone numbers, MSNs, Facebooks, whatever, and not without good reason. The game had a bit of a grooming problem, but that is not what this video is going to be about today. People have already covered that. No, this video is about a completely different problematic aspect of our seemingly utopian pixel art Mojo Dojo Casa Hotel. Besides being a light story time, this video is about how Habbo Hotel turned a generation of kids into criminals.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
For anyone that actually grew up playing this game, you'll likely notice that I didn't mention the biggest thing that everyone was actually doing while online. To us Habbo players, these were fun schoolyard games. Fallen Fernie, Cozy Change, Defend the Pod. To anyone over the age of 18, this was gambling. At face value, Habbo didn't look like Bet365. It wasn't literally just a bunch of casinos run by kids. I mean, sometimes it was. Habbo was, and still remains to this day, a free-to-play game. There's a membership you can buy, but mostly it just gives you cosmetic options to customize your character. Where the game's business model truly lay was in selling in-game credits, which is a currency you could use to buy furniture called Fernie. I have so many memories as a kid of begging my mom to drive me to fucking Petro-Canada. For anyone that's not Canadian, Petro-Canada is a gas station, and it was the only one that sold Habbo credits. You see, Fernie was a huge status symbol in Habbo, and not unlike real life, your material wealth was quantifiable and reflected your social standing within the hotel's player base. And in order to host rooms that people actually wanted to go into, you needed Fernie, nice Fernie, and a hook. Something to do. Most players inevitably dabbled in hosting game rooms, where the aforementioned Fallen Fernie was the most popular game of choice. It was more or less musical chairs with a couple extra rules to keep things interesting. The host of the room would drop seats or couches in the game area, and players had to hurry to sit down. If you found yourself chairless and the last person standing, then you were out. The host would hit you with the infamous P2P, Rev, Kick. These three options were essentially your lifeline. Kick obviously meant get the fuck out, however you could pay a fee to bypass the round and try again, usually 1 credit or some fernie of equal value. This was P2P, or pay to play. You could also pay 2 credits to have somebody else eliminated in your place. This was known as revving, short for revenge. And let me tell you, when people revved, lobbies would get spicy. It wasn't uncommon for rev wars to occur, which was basically just a pissing contest between 2 players throwing money at each other until one would bow out and have to leave the game room in disgrace. But more importantly, game rooms always had a payout at the end for the winner. It was generally understood that the prize would scale relative to how big the pot grew. The more players spending money in the lobby, the more lucrative the prize pool became. At least in theory. This was in no way an enforceable concept, and while game rooms were the best way to climb your way up the social ladder without spending real money in Habbo, you'd be hard-pressed to find a game room that wasn't running some sort of side hustle or outright scam. I can't even count the number of times I won in a game room lobby, only to have some shithead with his mom's credit card waiting on standby to rev me out of the prize pool that I had rightfully earned. Truly, the game was by all definitions pay to win. So, like any 12-year-old on the internet who felt slighted at the time, me and my friends would just type a bunch of swear words in game chat. When that didn't work, because the language filter censored everything to fucking boba, we instead got together and began plotting. We had decided enough was enough, and it was time we went into business for ourselves. So me, Austin, and all of our other friends from school decided to pool our resources and put together a crew. Together with Austin and the boys, we had opened our first game room, so every day after school, we opened our doors to the public and would assign a 2-person crew to run the operation. 1 person hosted, and the other quietly slipped in with the players and pretended to be an ordinary patron. Games would play out like normal. A couple people would pay to win, and our prize pool would be put on display. Every game or two, a 3rd insider would walk into the lobby and pretend to buy his way in, going on to win the whole game because, well, it was fucking musical chairs, and we were all on the phone together telling each other what to do and where to stand. Once we had burned through all of our insert winners, we'd close up shop for the night and reopen under a new lobby name with a different furniture layout the next day. That way, people wouldn't recognize us or link us together should one of us ever get caught. We'd run this scam for a few hours until dinner each day, and after a month or two, we each had a pretty hefty cut of the profit to our names. It was at this point that we started reinvesting, upgrading the game room. A couple of the guys even got Habbo Club membership. Things were going good. A little too good, to be honest. We were getting greedy. Shifts became sloppier, a couple disputes hurt our credibility, and players were just constantly suspicious of one another because of how widespread scam culture had become in the hotel. Word was beginning to spill over into the real world of our online success. Without realizing it, or really meaning to, one day Austin and I had discovered that we had inadvertently become schoolyard legends. This actually made things trickier. For one thing, everyone wanted in on what we were doing. And frankly, we were already divvying up our earnings more than any of us would have liked to. Remember, we are 12, and the funniest thing in the world at that age is pulling one over on the kids from school. We ended up ripping off people who could and would expose us online and off, which resulted in Habbo Hotel actually being banned from our school computers. And a couple of our original crew members even being told by their parents that they weren't allowed to play the game anymore. We took a major hit thanks to all this. But the dream was still alive, and those of us who remained were determined to find new ways to diversify our pixel art crime enterprise. Austin and I had to go underground at this point. We made new Habbos with new names and ran new game rooms. I can't speak for my business partner during this time, but the side hustle that I came up with was fucking devious. So there used to be a Habbo phone line you could call to buy credits directly over the phone. And the account linked to the phone number you dialed in would receive as many credits as you were willing to charge to your phone bill. Because I live in Canada, there's always a prompt to switch your operator to speak French. I call up my friend from school one day on Skype. I excitedly explain to him that I just got a new cell phone. But the service provider I'm with is some obscure French-speaking one stationed in Quebec. For some reason, the only way for me to activate this new number is to call the service provider and dial it in so that it's registered on file. My landline is allegedly down right now, so I need my friend, who I'm talking to on Skype, to activate the number for me. The operator speaks French, but not to worry because I happen to know the exact order to press the prompts for the operator to activate my cell phone. My friend actually agrees to do this, and to my surprise, it works. It works so well that I tell him it didn't work and have him try one more time for good measure. After that, my conscience kicks in and I tell him thanks anyway, but I should just forget about it. Granted, by this point, I've already secured the bag and I am rolling in more Habbo credits than I have ever had at one time. At this point in my quest for Habbo supremacy, I have lied, stolen, and turned my back on my own friends. I must have felt like the most untouchable 12-year-old online. I could buy anything. I could con anyone. Surely, there was nobody more hot shit than me in that hotel at that time. That is genuinely what I thought. So, you'll be relieved to hear that I'm about to get exactly what I fucking deserve. With fewer co-conspirators to worry about and several months of experience now under our belts, our once small startup scam had grown into a well-oiled machine. Inevitably, this now meant that we were rubbing shoulders with some of the hotel's richest players on a daily basis. This was a major opportunity, not only to learn from the best, but also to steal all of their shit. Austin learned through his new connections that once you reach the top of the mountain, running casino lobbies is actually the most cost-effective money-making method. This was much more efficient than game room hosting, and safer too. This was definitely something worth working towards. But honestly, me and Austin were tired. Our 12-year-old attention spans were shot, and we wanted to move on to a new game. It was at this point that we started considering the possibility of cashing out. The end goal of grinding it out on Habbo had always been to stockpile assets and then sell our accounts for real-world payout. Because in-game credits were one-to-one with the real Canadian dollar, you could practically appraise your account with perfect accuracy. We just needed one more good push to reach the final stretch. So we started double-timing our game room efforts, putting in more hours, putting up bigger prize pools, anything to attract richer players. Inevitably, we found those players. One in particular who knew us through a few mutual contacts. His name was Dragon. You see, unlike most Habbo players, Dragon wasn't a scammer. He wasn't even a con man. He was a straight-up hacker. Me and Austin took this rumor with a grain of salt at the time, but let's just say hindsight is 20/20, because for as long as we had been swimming around in our little pond of water, we had finally come face to face with a bigger fish. Dragon walks into the lobby, and Austin notices him immediately. We began conversing in private chat, scheming, strategizing a play to rip this guy off for our biggest lick to date. I was sitting in the room right next to Austin at the time, and he had a worried look on his face I wasn't used to seeing. We both stared at our respective computer screens, trying to get a read on our would-be mark, until finally, Austin turns to me and he says, "I think we should run this one clean." But it was already too late. My mind was made, and my dilated pupils had already morphed into dollar signs, because I was about to fist fight a fucking shark. A few short minutes go by, and then Dragon speaks up from the spectators queue. He wanted to pay to play. I took his credit and admitted him into the game, where Austin and one other player were all that remained. Before the round began, Dragon said one more thing. He goes,
"Let's have a clean game, boys."
Winky face. Something was up. Did he know? I dropped the first seat, near Austin of course, and he sits down. One spot left. The plan was to skew the chair placement in the other guy's favor, so Dragon would be forced to keep paying us to stick around. So I dropped the final chair, one space closer to our third nameless Habbo patron, but something strange happens. He doesn't move. Dragon leisurely walks over and sits down. I'm reluctant, but slowly type in the chat, pay to play rev kick. The other guy still hasn't moved. He doesn't talk in chat, doesn't do anything. He's a vacant avatar. Then suddenly, poof, he's gone from the lobby. Normally in Habbo, when a player gets kicked by the host, their character auto-paths an exit route to the front door. When a player gets banned from a room, they just blink away. Same thing occurs when they disconnect from the internet. This turn of events raises a few eyebrows in the lobby. Even Dragon claims to be surprised, but the consensus leans towards a random loss of internet connection, and we move on to the final round. One-on-ones work a little differently in Fallen Fernie. It's almost like a Western standoff, a duel so to speak. 10 paces apart and first to react takes the win. This way, with both players standing an equal number of tiles apart, it really just comes down to who reacts faster and clicks the chair first. Now, obviously Austin has the edge. He's sitting beside me, so I'm gonna count him down and have him click the chair a second early. 3, 2, 1, Austin starts running, and exactly 1 second later, I drop the chair on 0. Austin's halfway to the chair when suddenly his Habbo stops moving. A trade request opens, halting his character in place. The timing was catastrophic, and of course, Dragon walks over to the final seat and sits down for the win. Austin loses his temper and accuses Dragon in the game chat of trading him to sabotage the round. Dragon feigns ignorance, though I assure Austin that we can just get him on the rev. So Austin calls for a rev to buy Dragon out of the game. We open a fake trade as a formality, and then close it. I turn to Dragon, pay to play rev kick. Dragon starts laughing. He asks what Austin paid me. It's a stupid question. I lie. 2 credits. Dragon's silent for a moment. Then he says,
"I'm a little short. Not sure what I should do."
As he types this in chat, he opens another trade window with Austin and flashes just an obscene number of Habbo credits. Dragon is not short. Then he continues.
"What about chairs? Do you guys like chairs?"
Sure, I say, as long as they're worth credits. It is at this point that we lose all fucking control of the situation. We start to notice the spectators queue thinning out one by one. They're not leaving, they're just vanishing from the lobby. Then Dragon asks me,
"Do you want a red chair?"
The mood light in the game room turns red. Only the host has access to the mood light settings.
Do you want a green chair?
The mood light turns green.
How about a blue chair?
The mood light turns blue. At this point, me and Austin are freaking out. We are so rattled that we don't even notice that the room has been completely vacated of any other players besides the three of us. Then the other shoe drops. Dragon drops the bomb. He begins pasting into the game chat snippets of me and Austin's private messages to each other about how we planned to scam Dragon not 10 minutes earlier. Timestamps and everything. We were hosed. I start arguing back, accusing Dragon of hacking, threatening to get game admins involved, to have him banned, anything to regain control of the situation. But he's unfazed. Dragon hits me with an LOL and a final parting shot.
I said a clean game, boys.
Before suddenly I am logged out of my account. I turn to Austin's screen and he's been kicked out of the room, banned from it. Frantically, I try to log back in, but it's no use. My login information has been changed. And a day later, all of my assets were cleared out of my rooms and my account was listed as permabanned. Dragon had completely wiped us off the map in one fell swoop. Austin was spared a more severe punishment, probably for his initial apprehension in chat logs, but Dragon still popped up in his rooms from time to time, just lurking at the door as a reminder to watch his back. And that was the end of me and Austin's Habbo villain era. Honestly, reflecting back on the whole experience, I was lucky to learn my lesson as young as I did. Habbo was a breeding ground for hypercapitalism, and no 12-year-old should be as adept at con artistry and the logistics of gambling as we were. I'm glad somebody came along and humbled me before I started looking for real-world scenarios to replicate what I was doing. I mean, the phone line thing was pretty wild. I still can't believe I got away with that. Sorry, Jay. But like I said, I was lucky. A lot of my friends from back then weren't, and a few of them even went on to con other games. You'd be amazed what you could do with a World of Warcraft account and a PayPal wallet. Do it! Austin went straight after what happened, put his small in-game fortune to use, and began hosting game rooms legitimately. Turns out the game's a lot less fun without friends. He quit shortly after, and we moved on to playing Pokemon Emerald every day instead. Not long after we all moved on, Habbo itself would experience a sharp decline. Its fall from grace began with a 2013 expose involving child grooming accusations, which led to a server-wide game chat ban that lasted almost 6 months. And the last nail in the coffin came from the Danish government of all places, when a bill was passed which prevented Habbo from enabling their own strange form of child gambling dens, resulting in the removal of all trade features in the hotel, destroying any trace of economy that was left. The game had effectively been demonetized, and that was that. Habbo Hotel's on its last legs, clinging to life by the skin of its weird NFT market, riding the wave as long as they can, which even that's on borrowed time. This game was a major part of a lot of childhoods for kids growing up in the early 2000s. It was weird and problematic and downright abhorrent at times, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't have fond memories from my hotel days. It definitely fostered a unique sense of community that I honestly don't think has ever been replicated anywhere since. Let me know in the comments if you guys played this weird game growing up, and feel free to share any stories you have from back then. I'd love to hear about them. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.